Hello, children of the universe. My name's John Wulz. I'm 29 years old. I'm a South African Austrian. I'm originally from Johannesburg, and I'm currently living in Alice. I was born a Roman Catholic, and I'm a GP. I've been practicing in the public sector for the past 4 years. Yeah.
And so share a little bit about your yoga history, your experience with yoga.
Sure. So my sister Janine used to take me for yoga classes. We used to attend a hot room yoga in Joburg when I was a teenager, and then after that, through university and through my early working career, I think I attended yoga classes here and there. But then I was placed up here as a community service doctor in Alice, and I kind of decided to make yoga more of a commitment. Really make a wholehearted commitment to it, and that's kind of how I met Mickey and how I came to be at Simple Sense. Yeah.
And so what do you think are the benefits of yoga?
Sure. Loaded question. What I was actually thinking about, and I wanted to say to you before answering this question, was I think whenever a body of information or a practice is passed from one civilization to the next, across space and time, we have to ask ourselves why that information has survived.
Wow.
Like, why? Why is it a necessary indoctrination? Why is it valuable? And to what extent is it valuable? I think what the West or what science has to offer is it's able to qualify the answers that we already know and feel with data. And so with the advancement of technologies, molecular genetics or neuroimaging, I think the answers can become more convincing. But it's not that yoga really needs qualification, right? We know that it's got precious principles and values that are timeless and universal. But I think with science now, we're seeing the answers becoming clearer. But yeah, so that was something that I wanted to say before talking about. But one of my favorite things about yoga practice really is how it reflects on the mind-body connection. It allows you to, well, it's allowed me to become more aware of my own body and my mind and my thoughts. Physically, I've noticed, my posture improve. I think I'm also more aware of my posture. My hamstrings are still quite tight, but they've become more supple over time. My hips are more flexible. So those are the benefits I've seen within myself. And I think the mindfulness, that mind-body connection really speaks a lot to self-regulation, because when you're able to become aware of your body, and when you're able to center it and control it, you're able to actually modulate the stress response. So one of the things that has really stuck with me is the breath work, the yogic breath work. It forces you to take deep breaths and breaths that aren't so frequent, and you're able to control the balance between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system that way. And that take that kind of practice outside of the yoga studio, you can control things like blood pressure and certain hormones like cortisol, cortisol release. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, John, what kind of scientific evidence are there that yoga is beneficial?
So, in the lines of molecular genetics, so before I explain one of the studies that they've done, our genes, which are found inside of our DNA, are a kind of blueprint. They provide the code to produce proteins inside cells of our body. And what happens when we're experiencing stress is that we release certain factors that are able to interact with the DNA inside of our cells and upregulate or downregulate the production of certain proteins. We call the proteins that are produced in response to stress are cytokines. So these are chemicals that are produced in response to stress, and they modulate inflammation, or they mediate inflammation. And inflammation is not the most ideal thing to have in the body. In chronic inflammation also can predispose us to cancer, for example. Inflammation in other settings is useful, for example, when you treat infection. But so what yoga and other meditative practices, as well as Tai Chi, are able to achieve is a reduction in the factors that upregulate pro-inflammatory cytokines. And the other thing I've read into recently is, with the advent of neuroimaging and advances in MRI and other scanning like PET scanning and SPECT, we're able to actually look at the activity of the brain when the body is meditating or performing yoga movements, postures, stretches. And what they've found through neuroimaging is that practitioners who have been doing it for a long time have changes in certain parts of their brain. So it'll be interesting to see what future studies come up with in that regard. Yeah.
That's really cool. If you had a message to say to someone that has never tried before.
Sure. So I think finding a studio instructor who resonates with you is always a good thing. The amazing thing about Mickey is she makes yoga very light-hearted, and she's gentle when she needs to be, and she's also firm when she needs to be. I think an instructor makes the world of a difference. And I would say that patience is one thing that you need to bear in mind. We're all different, we're all designed differently, and if we're patient with ourselves through the practice, I think that's when we really start to see beautiful things come out of it. It's not an instant gratification thing. It's challenging, but I think later on down the line, if you stick with it, you're more likely to see those beautiful things come out of it. And one of the things that I've heard about is the fact that you're able to enter into deeper states of consciousness through yoga practice, which is where the real spiritual transformative work starts to happen. And you can't expect that kind of thing to just come to you overnight. That's why it's a system and a discipline, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Really cool. Thank you so much. If you have any other things to share, are you good?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, thanks so much, John.